Hi everybody, I'm Mark at Tuition Fit, and we're going to talk about how to understand a financial aid award offer. There's four fundamentals that you got to have figured out. Cost of attendance, you got to figure out what the free money is, you got to know what the debt money is, then there's some maybe money, and finally, your actual price. So, how do you gather that from an award letter? Well, we're going to break this thing down so that you know how to find out each of those pieces and then be able to make sense of it. Because making sense of an award letter is essentially knowing what your actual price is, no matter how complicated that letter is. And a lot of them, super complicated. What's cost of attendance? Cost of attendance is what the college bills you for, which is also known as direct costs, plus everything else you have to buy, which is sometimes called indirect costs. So what the college bills you for, that's tuition, that's fees, that's room and board, although I don't know why we still use the word board. It's food. Eating at the cafeteria, food. Everything else you have to buy, there really is everything else you have to buy. Insurance, books, a laptop, travel back and forth to school, soap, shampoo, yada, yada. That's all other stuff. And in order to understand what your cost of attendance is, you got to add all of that up. Now, colleges are required to come up with a number that is their cost of attendance. They know the actual numbers on the direct cost, tuition, fees, room, and board. They don't know the actual numbers and the indirect costs because some people have shampoo, some people don't need it because they shave their head. Some people already had a laptop, they don't need to get a new one. Other people don't. The indirect costs will vary. So they estimate that, but they put it all together, you got cost of attendance. All right, so let's look at some letters and see if we can find it. All right, this is the federally recommended template called the College Financing Plan. This is a sample version. And where is the estimated cost of attendance? All right, it's right there. I had to zoom it out, circle it for you, but you can see they got tuition and fees, they got housing and meals. It's better than room and board, I suppose. Housing and meals. Then they've added in books, transportation, other educational costs. It's kind of a grab bag, but they come up with a number. So this version of the letter, they've got an estimated cost of attendance on there, and you should be able to find it. That's great. But not every letter looks like this. Not every school uses this format. So here's another version. This is kind of a homemade version, but let's find cost of attendance on here. It's actually under the category called indirect costs. You have to look a little bit, but there it is. Total cost of attendance down there at the bottom. Now, sometimes you're not working with a spreadsheet like this sort of, not really a letter, spreadsheet version. Sometimes you're actually working with something that looks more like a letter, right? So here's another example where it's listed all the awards in there, and then right below it, you see a paragraph that says, here's your comprehensive fee, tuition, fees, room and board, all that stuff. And then underneath it tells you that there's going to be some additional costs, and they estimate it's going to be, $1,500, $2,000. But you got to add those two things together to come up with the cost of attendance, because this one doesn't actually have it there for you. Here's another version of the same thing where they don't even give you the indirect costs. They just tell you there are some. Thanks, I think. Now here's another version where they don't even mention it. They just say there's a total direct cost, and they don't even tell you what the direct costs are. Now in this case, what do you have to do? Well, you're going to have to go and find what the cost of attendance is at a school when they don't have it on the award letter. So you're going to have to go and you can Google it. If you Google cost of attendance and the school's name, it'll come up. Google's designed to help you find that. But you might have to do that because it might not actually be on the offer letter that you get. Then sometimes you get a nice bunch of text, and then you get another, and it's not even there. It's not close, and yeah, I would be confused, frustrated, all that stuff. The only number that's total is actually just the amount of financial aid there is. But you don't know what to take that into account with. Like, there's nothing on here. You're going to have to go Google it. That just happens sometimes. Okay, so that's what we got to do. So cost of attendance, direct and indirect costs, total together, that's the cost of attendance number. And that's the first number you need to know in order to understand, to figure out a financial aid award letter. Next, what's the free money? What do I mean by free money? Scholarships and grants. The gift you get to keep. It's money that they are going to give you that you don't have to pay back. But it's not super duper totally free. It might have some strings. All right, I'll show you what I mean. Here's another award letter. Remember, this template looks kind of busy, but right there in the middle, scholarships and grants, and it lists them. All right. It separates those two things out. On this letter, you'll see right under the word scholarships, it says merit-based scholarships, which is based on some kind of attribute you've got. Maybe they're academic, maybe you're awesome at playing the oboe, maybe you're a good swimmer, but it's a merit-based scholarship. And then under grants, they call that need-based aid, okay? And some schools sort of parse the difference and really make a big deal of it. Others, it kind of blurs together. But the important thing is, this is money you don't have to pay back. This is free money. All right, here's another letter that we've seen before. Where are the scholarships and grants, the free money? It's here in this column that you've got scholarships and grants. And now if you look here, you see it says federal Pell Grant. That's a need-based grant. And then HU Founders, that's because it's Howard University. Now the Founders, I don't know really, but my guess is that that's a merit-based grant, because then there's another one underneath that is HU Need. The titles are sort of short, right? So it's kind of hard to make sense. But the important thing to know is this is all free money, and they total it for you at the bottom. That's great. Now, they may not be all that clear. Sometimes it comes in letter form, right? This is a scholarship letter, and it just tells you, okay, you got $20,000 per year. That's great. And at least they tell you it's per year, because they don't always do that. Sometimes what they do is they just give you this giant number, and you're thrilled, $68,000, which, by the way, is actually more than the cost of going to this school. But you don't know that necessarily, because they don't tell you, because there's no cost of attendance on here. And then comes the fine print. It's actually not $68,000 a year. It's $17,000 per year, split up over 2 semesters each. But then look here, it's renewable until you complete your degree, or a maximum of 4 years. So you might not complete your degree if it takes you more than 4 years. And then down here, it mentions you got to be eligible every year and you got to maintain a certain number of credits. So those are strings. Those are strings. And when you have free money, scholarships and grants, there's going to be strings, and you need to know what those are so that you don't all of a sudden get surprised the next year and suddenly you don't have that money anymore. Okay, debt money. It's not free money, that's for sure. It's debt money. Those are loans. You have to pay it back. And they got strings, they got ropes and chains. Yeah, debt follows you around. You have to pay it back. So where is that on the award letters? Okay. On the federal template, the one that schools are supposed to use, which they all did, it's down here on the bottom, loan options. That's great. And they list all this stuff. Here's the different kinds of loans that you got, and they list the interest rates. They list the origination fee, which we're not going to go into all of that stuff, but these are just other extras that you're going to have to pay along with the loan. But they've all got it in this section, okay? And these are just the federal loans to the student, which is really all that should be in here, because this is an award letter to the student. Okay, now, back to this one from Howard. Now, down there at the bottom, estimated loans. But wait a minute, there's this other one. 2 federal loans in there, and then there's the Federal Direct Plus loan, and it's a big one. Why do I have it circled? Because a plus loan is not a loan for the student. The plus loan's a loan that the parents would take out. And what's funky about this is that this is in the award letter as if it's sort of a given. Like, you got it, right? For the federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized, you filled out the FAFSA, you get those loans. But for the plus loan, just because it's in the award letter does not mean that it's an automatic. Your parent still has to apply for this and get approved for it, and you might not. So it's kind of funky that it's in here because it's not a given. Certainly makes that big number at the bottom in total loans look bigger though, and that's kind of nice. Was that a little cynical of me? Yes. This is super important in the loans section. Look at the kind of loans there are and know that they're not all the same. Now here's another one. We've seen this letter before. Remember how thrilled I was with that total direct cost? There's the plus loan again. Stuck into this same one category of financial assistance that's got both scholarships and loans in it, and work study, we'll talk about in a second, and that's all woven in there. It's not a given. It's not guaranteed. And you need to know that when you're looking at these letters, because they work these numbers in, and then look, that big 46,040, that's a function of that plus loan. That's not a for sure. Now, maybe money. Work study. Because it's maybe, maybe not. Don't bank on work study. If it's in your financial aid offer letter, don't bank on it at all. So when you see it in the award letter, here's one federal format. It's a couple years old. You'll see it written in there. Here's the newest format, and it's down in the bottom right where it's got a section with some more details. And it tells you how much, and there's a possibility of filling it out for hours a week. That's great, wonderful. But here's another way that this gets woven in. This work study money is just stuck into this series of sources, and the total takes into account all that work study. But here's the kicker. This is the small print underneath. Look at this first one. Work study does not credit to billed charges. That's a dopey sentence, but what it really means is the work study money is not going to be subtracted for your bill and then you get a smaller bill. You get the bill you're going to get, and then you get a work study job that you'll get a paycheck for, and then you have to use that paycheck to pay off other stuff long after you've paid your bill. So work study really shouldn't be in a financial aid offer letter in the first place because it doesn't come off your bill. Now let's keep reading just a little bit because the next sentence is critical. In late summer, available jobs will be posted to the student portal. Okay, so in other words, you got a work study award, but we don't know if you got a job, and you're going to still have to apply for jobs, and those jobs aren't going to be posted months from now. Okay, so what is this really telling us? What this is telling us is, yes, you qualified for some work study, but that doesn't mean there's going to be any of it, and you can't bank on it. So know that when you look in the award letters, that work study money, throw that out because it's not going to have anything to do with the bill you get, and the bill you get's the first thing you got to deal with. So, out of your pocket, how much are you going to actually have to pay? Knowing what we know now, cost of attendance, free money, debt money, maybe money. Let's go back to this fun one. This one, it didn't even have the indirect cost. So you couldn't figure out the cost of attendance on if you wanted to unless you went out and Googled it, like I told you. So now you figure out what that is. Then you look at this list of stuff down here and you've got the scholarships. That's great. Work study. Okay, we got to throw that out. The federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized loans. Okay, you might take them. And those are automatic because you filled out the FAFSA. But the plus loan's not. You don't even know if you got that. So you might as well throw that out. And honestly, loans are money that you're going to have to pay back. It's not a freebie. It's coming out of your pocket. It might be a different pair of pants, but it's coming out of your pocket. So look at this now. At the bottom of this letter, it tells you your out-of-pocket costs. It says 0. You kidding me? Your out-of-pocket costs aren't 0. There's thousands upon thousands of dollars here. That's the stuff that you got to be able to sort out when you get an award letter. So you got to know what to look for and what to throw out so you get an honest answer. Here's another one. We talked about this one. I think I showed you this a little bit before. There's no cost of attendance in here. All it does is total up the types of aid you might get in that column called fund, but some of it's scholarships, there's work study in there, and then some of it's loans. And the only total you see is the size of the scholarship money you got. But you don't know what to subtract it from. You got to go find out that cost of attendance number, and then you got to subtract that, and then throw out that work study, and then decide you're going to take the loans or not. Because that's what your bill's going to be. And that's how you need to approach an award letter to understand what it says. Here's another version of that. Now, down here, at least they got this little gray bar, which is nice. It's got a cost of attendance on it up at the top there, but it still doesn't tell you what your actual price is yet, because you got to do the math here. You got to do the subtraction. And that's how you get to understanding an award letter, is by doing the math. Now, one more look here. We've got some stuff from another school, Drake. It's got some big numbers in there. Oh, great, wonderful stuff. Now, here's what I want to show you that I kind of like, actually. They've got two different numbers in here for you. They don't have the total cost of attendance on there, but at least they've got the indirect costs and the direct costs, so you can do that math. Then you've got the scholarship amount, and they do the math for you to figure out, all right, what is your bill going to say after the gift aid? And they separate that out from what your bill would say if you chose to take those loans. Super valuable, right? Now, on the template that you'll see from the federal government, this is one's from a couple years old, and the newer one that we saw a little bit ago, here you go. You've got a net costs, then you've got underlined, and it tells you cost of attendance minus total grants and scholarships. And finally, on the most current version of the federal template, college financing plan, again, college costs you will be required to pay. Total cost of attendance minus total grants and total scholarships. That's the number you need to know, because that's the real truth about what you're going to have to come up with. Now, why is all this really useful? If you're out with no internet somewhere in the middle of somewhere and you got an award letter and you got to figure it out, you can do this manually. But it might be nice to be able to have a tool that helps you do this automatically. And there's a tool like that. It's called TuitionFit. It's really simple. All you got to do, you go to tuitionfit.org, create an account, upload your financial aid award letters, confirm the anonymity, because TuitionFit anonymizes all those letters so nobody gets to see your personal information. And then when you use it, you get to see all of the offers that other students like you have received, the actual prices. So not only does it decode your award letter, but then it shows you how it compares to everybody else that is like you. So this is what it looks like. This particular student uploaded an award from the school they applied to, Kalamazoo, and now down below, a whole bunch of offers from other schools received by students just like you, so that you can now make a better choice. Not only what my actual price is, but then how it compares. Okay, there you go. You now know how to understand an award letter.